challenges to maintain
Traffic count.
Okay. The
Roundabouts.
challenges to encourage traffic calming. Is that
Roundabouts replace traffic lights.
Does that encourage traffic?
Roundabouts? No, but gets rid of the stop and go
They
traffic.
encourage the movement. It does actually change how much emissions are emitted instead of sitting and idling.
Washington, Seattle went to several hundred of them.
okay? Allison,
Of all the traffic lights.
Jessica, anybody else have another?
Thank you. Affordable post-high school education.
Does anybody have dots? Also, you want to? So what we're going to do is quickly go through these to make sure everybody is clear on what they're saying, and then we'll see if we can consolidate.
Yep, sorry.
Like we did with previous. So we've got keep taxes from going up, retaining city character, too many stoplights, sustained program funding, protect natural resources, community planning for development, more opportunity for cultural activities, energy conservation, traffic congestion, lack of downtown parking, attracting more green businesses, achieving minimum park maintenance,
Enough room here?
sustaining economic growth despite limited land, filling vacant commercial spaces, minimize sprawl, create diverse downtown, maintain rural character, stop homelessness, keeping Dover affordable for families, overregulation, infrastructure needs driven by population growth, wheelchair accessibility, limiting overdevelopment, affordable, diverse housing, encourage sustainable practices, Dover-based jobs, condition of our roads, accommodation of aging community, encourage traffic calming, and affordable post-high school education. So we're all clear that those are, we understand all those? Okay, let's quickly see if there's any that we can consolidate into a single idea, or if we're happy with the ones that we already have as we've written them.
You could use walkable communities to help with traffic congestion and
Well, John, we're trying to see if we can combine some of these into the same idea. I don't want to get off
What
on
if we
another.
said traffic management, and then we could lump the traffic congestion, too many stoplights, I'm sorry,
What was the other one? Oh, there.
traffic congestion,
Yeah.
Traffic calming is all the way on the right side.
Yep.
traffic calming, and I mean, to some extent, you could make an argument about condition of roads as well in there, but that's kind of a different animal in terms of infrastructure.
So what was your first one?
Traffic
Traffic management?
that goes right along with walkable communities. So you're not automobile dependent. Traffic lights. Roundabouts will work instead of stoplights.
Any others?
Affordable housing.
Down to the bottom of that.
Jack, can you put roundabouts up near the traffic lights? They work much better when they're designed right.
Sorry, housing.
Is that right there? For like affordable, diverse housing and affordability for families, could you combine to be like affordable living or something?
I think so. Yeah. Maybe that would encompass homelessness.
Oh yeah.
It's right above overregulation, keeping Dover affordable for families. Under stop homelessness.
yeah, got
Yeah,
it.
you combine those.
Was there another one? Homelessness?
Homelessness, right
Stop
above that.
homelessness is black.
Right above that?
Just right above the green one that you put in second. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I,
Yeah.
okay. So those three we could kind of put into a housing.
Affordable living,
living.
housing options.
Merge. Disability and aging.
Well, I mean, that did force me, I couldn't talk about those. I keep my mouth shut. I think most places are forced to.
Sounds like it's a little
He's closed. You were about to hit the lost.
Is this the whole thing of encouraging sustainable practices such as attracting more green businesses?
I feel like one of those lines of thinking is about development and use of the space, and the other one is about a philosophy of what to do with it once we develop it.
Right.
And both fall under the broader umbrella of planning then.
Right.
But then you're again too generalized, I think.
Yes.
So if we combine those three into this overall encouraging sustainable practices such as energy conservation and more green businesses, does that work? Probably do
Would we
more.
maybe say sustainable economic development and sustainable land use planning?
Which are two different things.
Which are two different things. And then most of those could fall into one of those two categories.
So we have sustainable land use planning
Right.
and sustainable.
And then we may barely met our minimum. Sustainable.
So what are we going to ditch?
So protecting natural resources.
Sustainable land use planning.
Right. Just down right down.
That's the whole thing right there. Don't have those, you're gone.
Energy conservation. Let them go.
Attracting more green businesses.
That's awesome.
And I maybe sustaining economic growth despite limited land. Would that fall under one of those?
Yeah, that would be land use
Or,
planning.
yeah.
What was that, sustaining what?
Economic growth despite limited land. That might be under sustainable economic development as well.
You guys are sustaining, what was that, economic growth? Growth despite limited land. Oops.
And I think filling vacant commercial
Hold on a
Oh, sorry.
So I see,
And then so there, and right underneath that is filling vacant commercial space. That would be sustainable land use plan. Or you can put under development and non-development. I'm fine.
minimize sprawl under this.
Yeah.
I gotta be a little careful because I don't want to lose some of these. Are we okay with that consolidation?
Thanks, everybody else waiting for us.
Okay. Shall we vote?
Yes.
Yeah, right. This is the Brainiac. Of course, no one's voting for Marine here, are we? I haven't had time to
I'm always concerned about the term sustainability, but it can mean something different.
I'm not sure what that looks like.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they're
Wheelchair accessibility.
Is that what wheelchair accessibility? Can you put natural resources under sustainable land use?
Okay, I already put one down.
Okay, gotcha.
better plan when you My plan is just not to lose them.
Yeah, that's what somebody said too, actually. Oh, good, it was that. Came
No, we're going to take all of these area. We'll take them all
Good. You still doing the,
Everyone seated so we can do the wrap up here. Sit down facing this wall if you would. Yeah.
The ventilation in this place is
Put it on the list. Go on. Good?
sometimes they don't know what they're doing.
They got it right this time, huh?
Good morning.
How are you?
All right.
So did you figure it all out then?
Well, we'll probably go in the skyscraper for a long.
John, I didn't see you before, but I hear you now. I recognize that voice.
Drive an 11-mile circle.
Jeremy, you want to go first? Jeremy?
You're taking a ride down to, on Route 1. Past, where Ralph's truck stop was.
Just as a quick introduction, we're just going to go over the highlights of what each of the groups came up with, not talk about every single one. If you're welcome to get up here and look at them afterwards. I would just like somebody from each group to summarize maybe the top 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever's good cutoff in terms of if they were clustering with votes, I guess, for both questions. We will take all of this stuff, faithfully transcribe everything that's on this wall, and it will be up on our website within the next few days. And then what we're going to also do is keep track of the scoring. We'll try and consolidate between the 3 groups, as you tried to do within groups, and come up with a summary of the whole process. We're not going to lose any. All of these ideas will end up in the final report. Obviously, the ones that got a lot of votes will end up higher on the list, but that's the whole point of the process.
Thanks, Roger. So, group 1, fantastic energy and a lot of really big picture ideas, and everybody played really well off of each other. It was really nice to see. And a lot of enthusiasm. In fact, you'll see we have 3 sheets of solid enthusiasm. And I think we struggled a little bit more to find what we needed to change about Dover because people liked it so much, which was really lovely to hear. And like I said, big picture ideas. Everybody really loves the visual character of our downtown and the good land use and smart growth design, our diversified economy and job base, and those 3 ideas kind of get, I think, from what I heard from the group, get at this is where we are now, and it's so far from where we were, and we're proud of our community. You know, compared to how our economy was, I think coming out of the mill era and through the 70s when, you know, we really just had a couple of major businesses. Those businesses left, and we had to struggle to overcome that time, and we did. And now we've got lots of small businesses, and again, diversified job base. If one business chooses to leave, it does not affect the town. We keep going strong, which is where I think our group really wanted to be. We actually heard some great comments about our transportation infrastructure, so not just our access to transportation options in terms of rail and bus system, including C&J and the local buses, but also that we took the time to come up with a parking system that, while maybe not popular, is fair and provides some options for people as customers to really enjoy the downtown and encourage smart use downtown. Fantastic. And another really big one was the great recreational opportunities that we have here in Dover. People really saw that there's a community, the sense of community and the small town feel and the visual character and everything also combined to be a town that people want to be out in, that we've invested in our infrastructure, people want to get outdoors, people want to be involved in the community. And all those things came together at a variety of points that, to me, I really heard. We like being here because everybody likes being here. We like being part of the community because we have these kind of events. If anybody from the group wants to jump in, I hope I summarized reasonably well. Thank you. And then in terms of our vision and what we're looking to see in the future, fantastic, just very energetic discussion. People got really excited about this. As much as we think we've done well to date on our transportation infrastructure and our parking, there's definitely a clear demand to improve the infrastructure in the future, because we still want to improve our downtown retail opportunities and everything, and continue to make downtown the center. You know, we want to improve the parking options and the infrastructure in an intelligent way so that it doesn't degrade the character of the city. We really wanted to extend the trail network and also connect up with our other communities and collaborate. And then I think one of the biggest things that we spent a lot of time on was our education system, which we recognized at first was very strong and has come so far. And our group really wanted to see the community take the next step. What I think I understood from that discussion was we want to harness the students that are here now in this great education program and really get them back out in the community and do practical application of the things that you learn out of the textbook, but contribute right back to Dover as a young citizen. Partnerships with businesses to create a greener community. We had some fantastic ideas about upgrading for solar technologies and things that kids learn about, but they could actually get out there and partner with all these small businesses that we have. Engage them in the community service and leadership opportunities. In the first portion, we recognize that we have strong city leadership, both in terms of the city staff and our volunteers and the people who want to be out in the community as citizens. But we need to take that next step as an opportunity to get our students involved in the same way and show them what it means to be part of the community by involving them in that process, in this process. And finally, we recognize that I think it was important not just to do those things, but to also quantify the benefits to the people who are harder to convince. That there's always going to be people who don't see the value of what it is that we're trying to do here today, and that we need to keep that in mind as we explain these projects and develop these projects. Let's convince those people that this has value and that we do need to invest in our students and our infrastructure and all the things we talked about this morning. I think that's our process. Thank you.
So group 2 also was very thoughtful and had lots of, and I think it's fair to say that people really value that it has a lot to offer. The ideas that came, there were 6 or 7 of us, so it's a small group. But certainly where we are and the easy accessibility around or whatever is a real asset. The other thing that got a lot of was the kinds of community events that we found, the apple harbors and some of the musical programs as a very family.
Excuse me, Liz, could you speak up just a little bit more so we can see?
I'm sorry, absolutely. So I was saying that the value to the community of these large community events and kind of family-friendly nature of the town. And then the other one that rose very high is the balance here between urban and rural. And that emerged as something to perpetuate, to assure that rural areas continue to be protected. And I just want to, there are a couple of what you might call second-tier ideas that came up that I think are also important. Low crime rate is a very good asset to have in the town. Great schools, as has been mentioned before, and also in common with the previous one, the historic character of downtown. Those are all important assets. We looked also at challenges that Dover faces, and again, the 3 that really rose to the surface. Develop the waterfront in the spirit of its original intention, which is to say, in a way that would benefit the larger community. We spent a little while talking about what that meant, and that we weren't looking for Meadowbrook. We're looking for some kind of development that's mixed use and integrates that new area with the rest of the community in that same spirit. Another big challenge, aging infrastructure. So the stormwater system, the roads, you know, it's an old town, and that's going to be necessary. The two others that are got almost as many votes. One was downtown traffic patterns and the difficulty of negotiating downtown with the through traffic, and educational funding, which kind of gets at the persistent issue of how you balance what you want. Anybody from our group would like to add anything? Thank you.
We had also a great group at Coleman Brainiacs. We took the longest. I don't know if that was because we had a lot of thoughts and we had more people than everybody else. But it was a great group and a lot of thoughtful discussion. I actually consolidated onto the tripod here the major legs that we came up with about Dover, starting with kind of not something that's tangible, but it was this idea of spirit of moving forward, that people felt that there was a sense of community getting together and saying, we need to think about the future, and we like that spirit. We want to make sure that we continue that. Dover's history was important, terrific family community, rural New England character, walkability of the downtown, working waterfront, and then a whole bunch that kind of came in as number twos in the voting. Healthcare excellent, decent education, open space, city officials willing to listen. Probably don't get that too often. Cultural resources, and then a good ratio of green spaces to building. So that was kind of our legs. In the second challenges session, we had a lot of great ideas, and then at the end we kind of, I guess we turned into lumpers because we put a lot of good ideas into broader themes, I think. And I don't know if you can all see that, but you can see where the prevalence of dots are here. One of the top vote getters was traffic management, but that did things like calming, controlling congestion, minimizing traffic lights, with things like roundabouts. So we tried to give some thought and ideas about how we could achieve this traffic management and so forth. Affordable housing, diversity of options, no homeless, received a lot of votes. And then we got into two kind of sustainability themes. One is sustainable land use practices, including protection of natural resources and minimizing sprawl. And then sustainable economic development on the other half of that, meaning encouraging green businesses, sustaining economic growth despite limited land resources, filling existing business spaces. And then one of the other ones that jumped out was maintaining the quality of education. So on the one side, there was a sort of, we have a decent educational system, but there are some gaps that we need to kind of fill. We lost Macintosh College, for example, and so there's some other opportunities there that we need to kind of deal with. So that came in with a high score as well. So I don't know if anybody else from our group has other thoughts on it, but that's kind of where we are.
I think you've all done a great job. There's some wonderful ideas here. This whole exercise was mainly, in my mind, mainly aimed at getting you to start thinking about your community, what you like, what you don't like. The next step in this process is a series of 3 neighborhood meetings at each of the elementary schools this coming week and one the following week. They're in your handout. March 13th is going to be at Garrison. These are all 7 to 9 p.m. in the cafeteria. March 14th at Woodland Park. March 22nd at Horn Street. This next round is probably the most critical of the process because because we're going to be asking you to take everything you've thought about and heard today, and as I said, we will be summarizing this and putting it on the Dover2023.com website within the next couple of days so that you can go back and look at it and think about it some more. But these meetings, the other 3 meetings this month are going to be aimed specifically at shaping the vision, coming up with what it is, some series of statements or paragraph, or maybe it's 10 or 15 bulleted items that say, this is what we want Dover to be in 10 and 20 years. This is the core of this whole discussion, what we're doing in this next series of meetings. So I strongly encourage you to come. You don't have to come to all 3. One of those is fine. The idea was that we would spread out to the neighborhoods so we could make it more accessible, have it at a different time of day, so that people who couldn't come on a Saturday morning can come in the evening. And if you can't make your neighborhood, don't feel embarrassed, you can come to another neighborhood meeting. We won't throw you out. This is not official voting. But we don't have voter ID yet either, so I guess we're okay. Hopefully we'll come through. The meetings in April are going to take what we learned from you at these next 3 neighborhood meetings. There will be another series of 3 neighborhood meetings in April that are going to take the vision statement that you come up with and a summary that we will develop. We're going to ask you to ratify what our consolidated language is from what you develop over the next 3 meetings, and then take that and say, okay, now how are we actually going to make this happen? So that's going to be the harder task, is to say, okay, now that we have this vision in mind, and hopefully everybody will reach agreement that it's generally what we come up with is generally what you said you wanted it to be. And the last piece really is, how do you take those vision ideas and turn them into something that could actually happen? And I will say that one of the big pieces from our end as consultants on this process is between the March meeting and the April meetings, I've got a half a dozen graphic people, landscape architects, and designers who are going to come up with as many visual images of the kinds of things you are developing so that we can bring this to life. It's not just going to be words, it's going to be pictures, graphs, and other graphics that we can use to help illustrate this so that it isn't just people talking about it, but we can have imagery that you can look at and say, I like that, or I don't like that. It's trying to bring this whole process to life as much as possible. The final point is that we have the steering committee has been working very hard the last several meetings to develop a survey that we feel is an important companion piece to this face-to-face process. That is going to be on the web very shortly. Actually, it's out there. We just couldn't remember the URL address. But if you go to Dover2023.com later today, Chris is going to email it to me. I'll get it on the website, and you can take this survey. And it's asking some of the same kinds of issues that we've been talking about today of you, and hopefully you can participate in that way. Invite your friends to the next meetings. We need some more people to show up and share their ideas with us so that we get as broad a cross-section of this community as we can. Chris, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone. For those of you that don't know me or didn't pick it up on the video, I'm the Director of Plan A Community Development for the City of Dover. Really, really excited to have you all here today. I really want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. As Roger mentioned, whether it's a family member, a neighbor, a friend, a business partner, if you know someone that couldn't come today, please encourage them to come to the neighborhood meetings. If you want to show up to more than one neighborhood meetings, hey, great, we'll see you there. But we encourage as many people to be part of this process. The more people that get involved in building this community, the better community we're going to have. So again, I want to thank you all for coming out today. We'll get that survey out. One of the enticements for the meetings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the following Thursday is I have a ton of junk food that you guys didn't eat today. I'm going to leave it on my porch so it'll freeze and be good on Tuesday night. And I have about 8 gallons of coffee, so feel free to take some on your way out. Seriously though, we're going to try some electronic polling on Tuesday, Wednesday, and the following Thursday. It's going to be part of the survey work that we're looking at. So definitely come out, grab everyone else you can bring to come to that neighborhood meeting, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Have a great day, and thanks again for coming.
Okay, sorry, I just have one quick question. With the survey and the neighborhood meetings, are the citizens 18 and under allowed? Are they?
Oh, good question. One of the things I heard, I walked around some of your groups, and it was an item about reaching out to the youth of the community. We're working with the high school, specifically with the social studies department. AP social studies class, they're going to be doing the same survey work. They're going to be doing a one-on-one facilitated discussion, much like you all did today. But then every social studies student in the high school is going to take the survey. So we're reaching out to them that way. We've been working with the principal of the high school and the social studies department, as well as the superintendent of schools, because as I heard Roger say in one of the groups, we're really planning for that youth. And we've had some great feedback talking to the teachers at the high school about wanting to reach out to those kids and recognizing the value of their input. So thank you for bringing that up. We will be doing that. We're actually meeting next week to sort of hammer out those dates. I think that I'm going to go to, somehow I'm going to be doing a civics class, but going in to teach, talk to every kid in the social studies. That was my sad end of the deal. But
I have you signed up for lunch duty too, so.
City Hall.
Janitorial works that I'm going to screw up. But I can make coffee, so we're all set. But again, thank you. Any other questions?
How are we going to know that
Speak up, please.
how are we going to know that the information submitted on the website, the questionnaires, are all going to be public?
You mean the survey work that we get done?
The survey that you
It goes
just
online?
the survey that you just stated that people could submit. How will we know that they're all going to be available to the public?
That's
Well,
being
the
done.
results of the survey won't, I mean, the results will be aggregated. The individual answers will be anonymous.
And
So
could you?
what you answer, Rick, no one else in this room will know that you answered it. The aggregate answers will be what was published.
That doesn't seem fair.
I think what the question is why not let people see, people aren't gonna put their names on the survey, so the question is, why not go ahead and post them so that you know what the surveys are, you can go ahead and summarize them.
Oh, we will, just like the
I'm
net.
talking about all the individual surveys so that you can see how many surveys came in and what different people said, so that you can have the actual source document that you can look at versus just the summary.
We'll have to take a look and see what the capability of the survey tool we're using is. I know that it gives us aggregate and it gives us how many people answered this way, how many people answered that way.
So you could do that, but easier than putting up what every survey
Yeah.
individually.
Yeah, I mean, we won't
Because
be,
you could get.
I don't believe that the online tool allows us to show everyone's individual answer.
But if you have an open-ended question, all of those can be.
Yes, those will all be aggregated individually. Yep.
And there are some open-ended questions, so
Yeah.
those will actually be individually answered.
And available to everybody.
Yeah.
Right, I think there are 12 questions. We wanted to keep it simple and direct. There are 12 questions, 3 of which are open-ended. So,
One more question.
Now, you keep enough records so that if somebody wanted to go back into depth of this report, they could go to the library and thumb through a catalog to see what was actually there,
Yep.
unedited?
At the end of the day, Roger will supply all of this stuff in an
Just leave
unedited.
that whole thing unedited.
We're gonna transcribe this and not change any words on it, assuming that we can read it all. It looks all pretty legible. So all of this will actually end up in the report. It will end up on the Dover 2023
So you can buy a
website.
book over in the library.
When we're done, this will all be part of the appendix.
And then anybody want to research it.
I mean, we will summarize it too, but we will give you the raw data as well.
Yep.
Yes.
If someone's not able to make some of these meetings, I see Foster's is here documenting and stuff like that. Will this be on Channel 22 or in the newspaper or something like that for people to be able to, I noticed he was videoing all this stuff, so does that mean my friends that were not able to come here today can see what what Foster's is recording here, so that way they can be up to date and come out to future meetings?
We can only control what the public is recording, not what a private entity is. So what the city has been recording will be replaying on Channel 22, public to see, and as well as the video that we had up earlier. That stuff will all be on the Dover 2023 website as well. We're using that as sort of a clearinghouse to move on. Certainly, we'll ask Mr. Everett to provide his video for us, that'd be great. If you wanted to donate that to us, we could have that as a record as well. Rick?
One last question. Could you tell us what you're being paid for your services by the city?
About $28,000 that the council approved.
That was a
So
valid
make him
question.
Work it. Make him earn it. So show up, be part of the process, get your neighbors, get your friends, get your baby brother. Come on out.
You have to talk to your parents about that.
We're not in that process. Community development doesn't mean that.
Any other questions? Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to seeing you at one of the neighborhood meetings.
Thanks, Robert.